We're down here today protesting raw log exports from British Columbia, which has now become a gold rush of sorts. One company called Timber West has closed a profitable sawmill in the little town of Yubo, and they put 225 people permanently out of work, and for no reason other than that they want to bump up raw log exports and maximize their profits. And that kind of aggressive liquidation of our forests is inexcusable.
We have a company who last year reported that they made $96.2 million. That money was made through the hard work of their employees and off the natural resources of this province. Now this company wants to turn around and close down a profitable mill, a mill that turned $1 million into their bank account. They want to throw 220 people out of work.
The community is prepared to take over that mill and have a manufacturing operated that puts people back to work. We believe in our community, we believe in our workers, and we want to see some answers.
To do the right thing would be to sell the mill to the Lake Cowichan Community Cooperative, keep the loggers working, and put our sawmill back to work.
Our fight is not with each other. It's not mill workers and loggers. We're all in this together, and we need to be.
The problem is they're dividing us. What they're telling the loggers is that it's important to export logs for them to maintain their jobs. Now, you can check with any logger around and find out that there's been almost 4 times as many logs exported in the last 3 years. How many more loggers are working? There's less. The loggers are being laid off, but they're trying to split the community and the workers. And as long as they allow us to be split, they're winning.
We have a highly mechanized logging crew in the forest. We're not even getting any jobs from cutting these trees into lumber. This keeps that trend of having to log more and more, trying to hold on to fewer and fewer jobs. That's bad for the economy, and British Columbia is really suffering now because of this short-sighted policy. And it's also extremely bad for the environment.
For us, it's more an issue that the logs that are harvested in the Cowichan Valley are not finished and turned into lumber in the Cowichan Valley, and that's what bothers me more than anything.
Clause 7 is what they call an appurtenancy clause. It actually tied the tree farm license to the continued running of the Yubo sawmill. The government says they don't know what's happening, but won't try and see what's going on. The government says Clause 7, they don't know where it went, and then they said, well, we removed it on purpose. The interesting thing is the union couldn't find out what had happened to Clause 7. We wouldn't be told. But you can't tell me that Timber West didn't know where Clause 7 went and when it went, because the timing is too exact. They knew Clause 7 was gone and that they had a free rein.
Somebody got bought off. I mean, there's no doubt about that kind of thing. This is only the tip of the iceberg, and what's happening in Yubo today is going to be all over BC.
Within 3 years, there won't be an operating sawmill in BC. The reason it's happening is you can make money in a sawmill, but you can make faster money by just shipping the logs.
He promised he wouldn't dismantle our Medicare. He promised he wouldn't dismantle our transit. He promised everything that he needed to promise to the people of British Columbia and each and every promise so far that he promised to working people and our families, he's broken. Because this government doesn't care about the people in the province of British Columbia. What Gordon Campbell has done just last week with another order in council, he made a promise to the people of British Columbia that he wouldn't export our logs out of this province, and he made an order in council only a few short days ago for 1.4 million cubic meters to be allowed to be exported out of the north coast of British Columbia. Is that acceptable? How can they say on one hand that we have an overcapacity of sawmills, and on the other hand, give our logs away to the Americans? How can you dismantle our Forest Act without even having any consultation with the people of British Columbia? How dare you do those things to us, Gordon Campbell? How dare you?
We are concerned that there's going to be multinational corporations coming in from around the world, logging the trees, sending them by boat, and taking them in our community. What's going to happen in our community? We're not going to survive.
And we're proud to be loggers like our fathers. We'd like to ship Gordon Campbell to the USA. Keep our logs in good old British Columbia. Gordon Campbell, you better listen to what we say. We're so proud to be loggers like our fathers. We'd like to ship Gordon Campbell to the USA. Keep our logs in good old British Columbia. Well, Gordon Campbell, you better listen to what we say.
People of Port Alberni are not happy with things that are happening around us, and we want some accountability. Our mayor and city council are on side with us. It's too bad about our local MLA. She's got to tote the BC Liberal line, and if they take the appurtency part of it, the Forest Act, these TFL holders could hold on to the TFLs, close all their manufacturing facilities, and ship the logs wherever they want. So you know what that would mean to a town like Port Alberni and other forest-based communities in BC? We'd be toast.
People voted for the BC Liberals, they voted for change, but they didn't vote for this kind of change. It's unacceptable what they're doing to our communities. What I'm going to do right now, I'm holding my Liberal card. This is a ceremonial burning of my association with the BC Liberal Party.
I think it's outrageous that we're exporting logs while our mills are shut down. So I know there's many here want an outright ban, period, on logs, and maybe that's where we have to go. I tell you, you got a big elephant to move to get there. But I tell you, anything's possible if you really want it. So if we want sustainable industry here, we need to work for it and pull together and manage our resource properly. But if we shut down the resource and let other people take it, I've seen what happens in these coastal communities in Newfoundland, and a bag of money didn't save them.
It's important that environmentalists and forestry workers stand together on sustainability issues, and to your credit, you've got a hell of a rally here on this issue. I think if we're going to establish sustainable forestry practices in the province, we've got to value add locally every tree that comes down. Otherwise, there'll be no trees in the future, there'll be no jobs, and the environment gets screwed too.
Nothing short of political change or political guts is going to stop the export of raw logs from this community or any other goddamn community in British Columbia. And it's the communities like Port Alberni, communities like Cassis, where they haven't worked for 14 months, Gold River, Lake Cowichan, Timber West closure of the Ubo sawmill, a disgrace. Timber West doesn't even have a sawmill in Canada. They've been exporting logs for years and years and years as well. They have increased their log export from 200,000 cubic meters to over 1 million cubic meters in the last 5 years.
Log export restrictions, frankly, impair value for Timber West unit holders and are a form of subsidy to domestic sawmillers, which is one of the fundamental problems Canada has in its trade dispute with the U.S. The problem's not a shortage of logs, so let's keep that in mind.
The reason there's some regulations in society that restrict what can happen is because there's also a social good there. And many of the companies that don't have access to the fiber also need the opportunity to have that timber.
Because you're concerned about those issues, I'm concerned about them. I really am. So let's get together in a different forum and have a talk. Thank you.
I've worked in the BC forest industry for 20 years as a professional silviculture worker. And I have extensive first-hand knowledge of what's going on Timber West private lands. And that has raised I have some very serious concerns about it. I will say that I expect that now that Timber West's name, brand name, is being stamped on the extinction of the Vancouver Island marmot, that this may have a significant effect on the value of your shares.
If you look at who donated to the Liberal Party, who gave them the money so that they were able to run their ads and get into power, you'll see that the third largest donor to the Liberal Party is Timber West. Now, Timber West is the largest raw log exporter in the province of British Columbia. And in fact, of the top 5 donors to the Liberal Party, 3 of them are forest companies, which export raw logs.
We didn't believe that it's right that the government just can make the changes to the Forest Act without having any meaningful discussion with the stakeholders in this province. So that's why we have come out, and instead of just complaining about what they're doing, we are offering alternatives. We don't pretend to have all the solutions, but we believe that with your input and the things that we're gaining in knowledge through these type of meetings, we believe very, very strongly that we can find a solution to the changes that benefit everybody instead of just a few.
Whatever logs leave this province should be taxed to the point where they can't make, it's not feasible to not cut it here. Because if the Americans didn't take care of their trees in their country, to maintain their own forests, to maintain employment for themselves, they shouldn't come up into our country and take our logs and try to maintain their employment by using our resources. I would like to see more action, more visible protesting.
We'll wake up the people at least. People see what's going on, understand what's happening to the people in this province. Maybe the Americans like to see what's going on. It's not a fair way of treating brothers across the border here.
What are you prepared to do if this doesn't work?
Keep escalating. We'll hit the borders. We'll shut the borders down. That way the Americans will know what's going on.
These logs can be milled within this province. Interfor has shut down Fraser Mills. Weyerhaeuser has just very recently shut down the Canadian white pine. Those logs that are being exported out of the country could have been processed in these 2 mills. In the Forest Act, it clearly states that the equivalent cut has to be processed in a timber facility owned here in this province, and not simply be exported out of the country in a raw form.
1 year later, after we elected the business sector to run the province, we have more unemployment in this province than we had a year ago. Our growth rate's the lowest in 5 years. And instead of dealing with the real issues, they're trying to take it out on the poor and working people in this province. And let me just say real clearly, if you want to solve some of the problems, then stop issuing log exports and start having a province where every log is processed by British Columbia workers.
I'd really like to see forestry take a different turn in British Columbia, and if we can't do better than this, I think we should maybe think about doing some eco-forestry, the type that Merv Wilkinson does.
The answer for those fellows would be to put enough heat on that they could get at some access to some land and form little groups and go into small operation.
Mm-hmm. Community forestry.
Community forestry.
Exactly.
That's the only answer for them.
The community has an interest in making sure that those logs aren't just cut and shipped. And they're done in a sustainable way because it's for the benefit of the community to keep those forests as productive as possible. and not to overcut them, and to look for value-added ways of getting more out of that same wood. So many people are threatened when we talk about environmentalists in the wood industry, because traditionally they've been painted as the enemy. Now, what happens is, again, it's this conquer and divide, and if the companies can keep us as enemies, it's so much stronger. If you can think about what an incredible lobby group it would be if we could have environmentalists and woodworkers. And what's different about a woodworker and environmentalist? They basically want the same thing. They want Canadian and BC jobs, they want sustainability, and they want jobs for their children.
We would call for an absolutely made in BC solution, which would include a complete ban on the export of unmilled logs. We need to stop that.